Hello everyone. Today I'm going to be trying something different. I got an Apple Pencil this weekend, and so I'm going to try to do my lesson on the iPad where you can just see the lesson and not have to see me. Okay, so we're going to start today with lesson 3.1. This is on variables, and we have quite a few definitions to go through before we start the actual examples. So let's start with what a variable is. And a variable is a symbol used to represent a number. Or let's say to represent any number. Because it could be a whole bunch of different numbers, or it could be a certain number. Okay, so we'll be talking about variables more in the future and talking about them a lot. So some examples are, most of the time the variables are letters. So X, Y, A, okay, so different letters. We do not usually use T's unless it's really a cursive T like this, because they look too much like a plus sign. We don't use O's very often. If you see an O, it might look like a cursive O because it looks too much like a zero. So these two are ones that you don't see very often. Okay, and X's do look like a time sign, but remember in algebra we don't use the X as a time sign. So as you can see, my X is still a little bit more like cursive X so that you won't misinterpret it as a time sign. Okay, domain is the next one, and it is the set of numbers. The set of numbers. Remember, I abbreviate numbers to help you go quicker on your notes. The set of numbers used for the variable. And we'll talk more about that in a little bit, okay? But you really need to know what a domain is, because in your instructions, they're going to be talking about domain, and you need to know what it is. So we'll talk about that more in some of our examples. Okay, a constant is a fixed number. So it's something that's not going to change. So a fixed number. So variables change for the most part, but a constant does not. And I'm going to show you an example of all those in just a minute. Actually, let me go ahead and stop now and show you the example of those. Okay, if you are not done writing your definitions, then hit pause and go ahead and write those down. Okay, so if I had something like this, 5x plus 3, your x is your variable, and go ahead and write this down, okay? Maybe off to the side or underneath your definitions is fine. Okay, and then your constants are the 5 and the 3, because those are not changing. Okay, so and that's going to be on your homework assignment, is to list those. So if they ask you to list these, you would say the variable is x and the constants are 5 and 3. That's how you would write it in your homework. Okay. Okay, next one is algebraic expression. So an algebraic expression is, okay, it kind of has a long definition. It's the result, I'm going to try to shorten it a little bit, result of performing math operations with variables and constants. Okay, and we're going to do some algebraic expressions in just a minute. Okay, so you'll see what that means. Okay, so hopefully you have this all written down. We're going to go on to example 1. Okay, so example 1 and example 2 kind of go together. Remember, if you don't have down your definitions, just hit pause before I go on and finish writing those down. Okay, so example 1, and go ahead and write out, all you need to write out is this bottom line, okay, in your notes. So you don't have to write down that first part. It just takes a long time to write all that out. Okay, so what is the cost of 10 pencils? Okay, so up here it says if C represents the cost of 1 pencil, what is the cost of 10 pencils? So it's telling me that C is going to represent cost, but I have 10 pencils. So the way I like to tell kids to figure these out is actually give the cost something like 5 cents. If a pencil is 5 cents, how would you solve it to find out what 10 pencils cost? You would multiply, right? 10 times 5. But we don't know that it costs 5 cents. We know that it costs C cents. So we have C for cents instead. So actually, to do this, I would go 10 times C, right? Because if it was 5 cents, I would do 10 times 5. So some of y'all might have thought, well, isn't it C times 10 going the other way? It does not matter the order, except that we don't want even the time sign there. If you have a variable, you do not need to put a time sign. All you need to put is the number and the variable or the letter right next to each other. And when we do that, when we say 10C, we want the number first, the constant. Remember, the number is the constant and the letter is the variable. Okay, so we want the constant to come first every time. So this is my answer to if C represents the cost of 1 pencil, what is the cost of 10 pencils? Okay, so now we're going to take that answer to the example 1 and we're going to move it over to example 2. So it says if the domain for C is 5, 10, and 17, what is the cost of the pencils? Okay, so they're assuming that you're still using this this problem right here is 10C. So I'm going to write it over here, 10C. And then the domain is this part, okay? The 5, 10, 17, that's the domain. So what that means, what domain means is that I'm going to put each of those numbers, 5, 10, and 17, in this equation for C. So those are going to be the cost of the pencils. So they're saying, what if my pencils cost 5 cents? What if my pencils cost 10 cents? And what if my pencils cost 17 cents? So when I do that, I'm going to, instead of having C there, I'm going to put in those numbers. So I'm going to have 10 times 5 will be my first one because I'm putting the 5 in from here. So if they cost 5 cents, then my answer would be 50 cents, right? The 10 pencils would cost 50 cents. Okay, and then I'm going to do it again for the 10. So see, I'm using the 10 now. And 10 times 10 is 100. So for 10 pencils, if they cost 10 cents, it would cost 100 cents, right? Which is just $1. But we're not going off of cents right now. And then the last one, I'm going to substitute in the 17. Okay, and 10 times 17 is 170. So now I have 3 different answers here because I had 3 numbers in my domain. So when you give your answer to these problems, you would give it as 3 different answers. So you can even write your answer as 50, 100, and 170. If you know it's money, you could also put in 50 cents, $1, and $1.70. Okay, either way would be fine since we know that it's money. Okay, so hopefully you understand that. You're just putting in the numbers up here in the domain. Why isn't my pencil working? Okay, this is a problem when my pencil stops working on the screen. Okay, I'm gonna have to stop and come back to all of this. Okay, I got my pencil to work, hopefully, yes. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and go to example 3. This is write an algebraic expression for, and then in your notes, you just need to write this part. I want it written out in words in your notes. So the sum of 5 and any real number n. So notice in this problem, they told you what the variable is, it's n. You need to go ahead and make sure that you have all your, if they don't tell you the variable, you can create the variable. You can put an X or a C or an N or Y or whatever you want, okay? But sometimes they'll tell you what it is. So the next part is this word sum. So from your other classes, you should know most of the words for the operations. Sum means add, okay? And you're gonna put that plus sign where you see the word and. We're gonna talk about this more, I think, in the next lesson. But right now, I'll just go through that. The sum goes where and is. So the sum of 5 and any real number is gonna be 5 plus n. So here's my 5, there's my plus sign, and there's my variable. So this is my answer for the algebraic expression. Okay, next one, example 4, says if the domain of x is -5, 1/2, 2, 3, find the corresponding values of x plus 9. So on your notes, instead of writing this all out because it's a lot of work, what I want you to write out is x plus 9 and then domain. So you don't have to write out all those words. Just write out what's in blue on here. So all I'm writing out is the important parts. This is kind of like, kind of like what you'll see on your assignment. Will look more like this than all those words. Okay, so you're going to take the x plus 9 and you're going to put in place of x, you're going to put each of these numbers, right? So I'm going to put the -5, I'm going to put the 1/2, the 2, and the 3. So I'm going to put all of those in place of the x. And then that's going to give me 4 different answers, right? So that's going to be my answer. So I'm going to start with the -5 and I'm going to put it in place of the x. So instead of x, I'm going to have -5 plus 9 and I'm going to solve that. So the answer is 4. Now I'm going to do the same thing with the half. I put 1/2 plus 9 is equal to, now that's 9.5, but remember in algebra we don't usually write it like that. On this one I'll just allow it because it's easy enough to do it that way. But if you were to write 19/2, that would work also. Okay, next one is 2, so I'm going to put the 2 in place of the x. And 2 plus 9 is 11. And my last one is 3, so 3 plus 9 is 12. Okay, so see what I did? I took the x up here and I changed it into each of the numbers. So I have -5 here, 1/2 here, 2 here, and 3 here. See how the plus 9 stayed the same? Let me change my colors real quick. The plus 9 stayed the same, okay, because that is a constant, okay? That doesn't change. The variable of x changed because it is the variable. So think about that word, variable. It has as its root the word vary. Vary means to change, right? So it's changing all the time. But the 9 is constant. That's another way you can tell what's the constant and what's the variable. Okay, that is our last example. So on your homework, you're going to have examples just like this throughout the whole homework. Make sure that you read directions because the directions are different on every one of them. You also have a little section on stating the properties. So you're probably going to have to look back into your notes to look at what kind of properties there are. Okay, I hope y'all liked this way of teaching because I'm probably going to go to trying to do this all the time instead of having my face and my body on a whiteboard. I think you can see this better and I can teach from in my pajamas if I wanted to, right? Or my workout clothes. Okay, so I'll see everybody soon on a Zoom call. Bye.